Perla's story in La Margarita is a very interesting one. If not personally, one of the more interesting stories in the entire show. I enjoyed how they handled her growth out of an abusive relationship and moving her to become a better character. When we're introduced to Perla in the first few episodes, she is more like a madame with her partner Danilo, and what they do is they run a brothel. Perla also works in the brothel. Danilo gives her a higher position over all the other girls that they bring in because Perla is the oldest. Keep that in mind for later. Perla is desensitized to everything that's happening in the brothel, even when it is including deceiving young and impressionable women to join the life that they live. Sometimes the girls know what they're getting into and they are all right with it. Other times, unfortunately, the girls do not know what they're getting into. They bring some of these girls in under the pretense that they are going to be working as maids or any other decent job that they could use to fend for themselves and take care of their families back home. And these girls come in doe-eyed, unaware that they're about to live the worst experience of their life at the hands of Danilo, and Perla is the one to take care of them until that happens. And she does so without guilt, or at least without any visible guilt. But Perla's relationship with Danilo is not perfect. At least not in the eyes of a viewer. Perla is in love with Danilo. It's clear as day, first episode. She hangs on his every word, every compliment. She loves it that he loves how she organizes and how she manages the girls. She just wants to be his everything. And she's alright with the crumbs that he feeds her. She's alright with those little compliments. She's alright with him making her the boss. She's alright with what little power he allows her have, even though that little power doesn't come without abuse. Despite her position, Perla is a victim of abuse from Danilo. He physically and emotionally abuses her, but for Perla, this is her life. This is what she's used to. It's mentioned later in the telenovela. According to Perla, the life she lived before Danilo was way worse than the life she was living with Danilo. So she doesn't see the abuse as something that should stop her from enjoying the life that she's living, because she has seen worse. She's alright with this, she's alright with her position, and she's spending her days working for Danilo and hoping that a day would come when he would love her back. But the day doesn't come, and gets even farther away with the introduction of Alejandra, a young girl they bring in under the pretext of working as a maid, or at least that's what she's told, and she's unfortunately forced into the business. But the worst thing happens to Alejandra, in which the love that Perla has so been waiting for ends up becoming Alejandra's possession without her choice. Danilo finds himself obsessed with Alejandra, and instead of this being an eye-opening moment for Perla that Danilo does not appreciate her enough, nor love her the way she wants, so she should get out, she doesn't. Instead, she actually grows jealous of Alejandra. She sees Alejandra as a threat, no matter how much the girl insists, and doesn't show any interest in having anything of Danilo's, including his love. Perla sees a threat. But the threat soon leaves when Alejandra decides to run away. She runs away with a suitcase that contains more than just money, which she finds out later, but we're only focusing on Perla. It contains money and things that put Danilo and Perla's life in danger, forcing them to pack up their whole operation and move to a new town. Danilo is murderously angry with Alejandra, and Perla is in heaven. She thinks, new town, new life, new chance, no Alejandra. All she can think about is having a second chance to win Danilo's heart again, but all Danilo can think about is having another chance to find Alejandra and hurt her. Although Perla is happy that he's angry with Alejandra, she's not really happy that he's trying to find Alejandra, because she's not a fool. She doesn't think once he has her in his hands, he would kill or hurt her. He would rather have her come back to him. She knows this, but what else can she do other than hope that Alejandra stays far and far away? She has her man now. All she has to do is to be his support as always, and maybe she will get a chance to be the love of his life. And this is where Memo enters the picture. Memo is a small town thug, and he comes around hired by Danilo to help them out with a few problems around the house and their plans for the business. He sets his eyes on Perla, and this guy is gone. I'm talking mesmerized, perlmatized. bewitched, whatever the word may be. He just cannot take his eyes off Perla. And Danilo notices this. Danilo notices that Memo is just locked in. And he decides, yes, I'm going to pay this guy some money, but money can only take him so far. He wants to ground Memo in something that will make him loyal to a fault. And the way he sees Memo drooling, literally, over Perla, he speaks to Perla about it and encourages her to entertain Memo, not physically, more like pull him on a string, give him little bits of hope here and there so he thinks that something might happen, enough to just string him along to make him a loyal dog, and a loyal dog Memo is ready to be.
Tú eres la mujer más hermosa que yo conozco, Perla.
It takes a little while, but Memo soon gets an understanding of how Perla's life is with Danilo, and he is not down for any of it. He soon understands that Danilo, on occasion, when angry, when things don't go his way, would abuse Perla, and whenever he was present, he made sure to make that stop, even if it meant getting hurt himself. Many times, he would see Perla get abused, and even though he didn't know the context, when he was told, he would take the blame. He would tell Danilo, oh yeah, no, sorry, this is not her fault, this is my mistake. I might have slipped up and said something to her. And I don't know if Danilo always knew he was lying, but I think he might, because at some point he even threatened Memo himself for interrupting his dynamic with Perla by stabbing through Memo's hand and drawing blood. And Memo is unfazed, but he's worried about Perla. He tells her that he's not always going to be there to save her from Danilo and she should be careful. But believe you me, Memo was always there as much as he could be, and there was no chance that if Memo was present, Danilo would lay his hands on Perla. It could only happen from the moment they meet. He could only abuse Perla when Memo was not in the house.
Si nada justifica que te dejara así, mira nada más cómo dejó tu cara.
Memo would talk her up, tell her that she deserves better, and she would only brush him off and flirt with him, but it made something clear to Perla. I don't know if it was made clear to Danilo, but it made something clear to Perla that although Memo's loyalty was to Danilo, he had a loyalty to her that superseded whatever it was that Danilo would give him. And I don't think that was the plan Danilo ever had with the kind of power he was giving Perla, but she saw it. And oh man, did she take advantage of it, because at some point, Perla finds out that Danilo is close to finding out where Alejandra is, and she suspects that Memo might have an idea. She goes to him. He knows it's dangerous, but this man cannot help himself. Perla is asking him to do something. How could he say no? But things slowly begin to change. Memo became a boost to her self-confidence because at some point, a few customers began to point out Perla's age, and even Danilo began to poke those holes in her as well, telling her that she probably should be more of a background character because she's no longer young.
Me hace que voy a tener que cambiarte por un nuevo modelo.
And obviously that hurts Perla's pride, but there's also Memo that is so in love with her. She must have something that somebody wants, so he becomes a boost for her self-esteem. She also begins to grow an affection for him, which only shows when Memo is asked to do something for Danilo that he has never done before, which is to take someone's life, where she begs him that no matter what, he should not kill that person, that he should not allow Danilo to make him that. Which also shows just how much Danilo did not anticipate Perla having power over Memo, because Memo, obviously, he himself is not a killer, but with her asking him such a thing, it's even more of a drive not to do it, because one thing Memo is not going to do is do anything that will make Perla disappointed in him, putting his life in danger if Danilo ever found out, but it was a risk he was willing to take for Perla. And what does Perla do when she finds out that he didn't kill, that he didn't stain his hands with blood? Kisses upon kisses upon kisses, which obviously Memo is just happy to receive any and every day. But despite this growing care for Memo, and despite her now seeing that she can be found beautiful and treated well, I, even as annoying as it is, appreciated that she didn't just immediately switch off from loving Danilo. Because one thing I would say is that sometimes abuse and loving someone who is abusive runs so deep that no matter how good the life you are showing the person that's been abused can be, they are okay staying where they are suffering because this is the life that they have been in for years and years, and it's not so easy to switch it off. The same thing with Perla. Perla knows how much Memo cares for her. She knows that if she leans into this, she's going to have a man who worships every word that comes out of her mouth, who will never, and I mean not even as an accident, lay his hands on her. Yet, despite the growing affection, despite the attraction, she is still begging for crumbs from Danilo however she can, even after her worst nightmare comes true. Danilo finds Alejandra. He brings her to live with them, which is the first shot to Perla's heart. But even worse, he is ready to make Alejandra his wife. And he does. He marries Alejandra in front of Perla. Like, he told her she had to be present. She had to stay there and watch this girl who does not want to be here marry this man that she is pining over, and watch him give all this love that she's begging for to Alejandra still. Even though it makes her angry, it doesn't stop her from wanting to earn his love and turn him away from Alejandra, to the point where she puts another man's life in danger by revealing that he is someone Alejandra kept secrets with. She gave that information to Danilo, all happy, in hopes that he would see her as still being a valuable item to have around. And by this point, she had already started a secret affair with Memo. The affair goes unnoticed by Danilo, but the more Perla permits Memo to do, the more Memo is ready to show out. Perla's life with Memo is a complete opposite of her life with Danilo. On the side of Danilo, she has a man who uses her to keep his business afloat, keep his girls in check, keep everything going as it should be, satisfy him when he needs it, satisfy his clients when they are okay with her, and the ones that are not, he finds the other girls to do the work, and all in all, he has his loyal lapdog. Abuses her when he feels like he wants to get off some steam, and that's their life. But with Memo, she has somebody that adores her, that listens to her, that wants to make her happy. As in, once she was forced to leave the house and he takes her out on a nice date. They eat, they walk around the town, they listen to music, he buys her a flower, he showers her with praises. And by the time Perla gets back the next morning, all she can do is think of the night out. She's speaking with one of the girls, telling her how spoiled she feels. If there is anything he can do, even at the risk of his own safety, because obviously they're trying to keep this new affair a secret from Danilo, Memo would do it. But yet, Perla is still into this life. Perla is still into Danilo. She has this person that adores her and she loves the adoration. She even has enough trust in Memo to start telling him about other dreams she had outside of working in this business. But yet, you also see her killing herself to please Danilo, trying to make sure that Danilo sees her as his top one. I guess you can think of it in two ways. One, the love that she had for him, because I believe at this point in the story it's still there. Two, maybe it's just the need to feel valuable. But the reason I don't lean on two is because with Memo, there is no way she is not valuable. So it has to be, in my opinion, her wanting Danilo to finally get to love her, which Danilo is not doing. And we see that Memo begins to ask more from Perla. Memo knows Perla's place in the business. He knows she's not just controlling the girls, but that she too also participates in satisfying the clients, and Memo has a problem with it. They've gone deeper in their relationship and he starts to ask her if she would consider exclusivity. I don't remember exactly if he mentioned even exclusivity from Danilo, because I don't think he would say that. He would know that is too risky. So I think he was trying to ask her if she could ask Danilo to not work physically with clients anymore, and that made Perla react. So they have a fight and they take a break. The break just being that Memo isn't texting her like he used to, which begins to show how much Perla has come to care for Memo. She no longer finds enthusiasm in her work because Memo isn't texting. She's on her phone, she's looking at it, she's brooding around the entire house, and when one of the girls that she trusts and who knows about the affair asks her what is going on, she trusts her enough to tell her, and the girl says that relationship wasn't going to work anyway because they want us to leave what is giving us money, but after they get that, they would abandon us, and that gets in Perla's head, making her even more thoughtful, more sad. And guess how Memo comes to apologize, because he feels bad for making her feel bad. That is the relationship she's in now, that they have a fight, and instead of getting physical, he took some time to go think about it. So he brings a serenade to her. and the level of danger he's putting himself in. If Danilo was to arrive at that second and see the interaction, there is no way he wouldn't realize that these two have gone behind his back to start a physical relationship when he had made it clear that that was never supposed to happen. But he doesn't care. But no matter what I say, I don't want at any point in time for anybody to think this is a normal or perfect relationship. Memo is still a thug. Memo is still Danilo's little man in the game who goes on to handle his other business, which is drug related. Yeah, so Memo is not perfect. Memo is not a good person. Again, this is the villain side of the story, so I'm enjoying them as they are. Don't judge me. Their relationship, as I was saying, is far from perfect because Memo and Perla are still under the control of Danilo, Perla most especially. But as time goes on, despite their worry about Danilo finding out, they seem to care less and less. Perla and Memo nearly get caught by Danilo, but Danilo is blind to this. He's busy. Danilo then suggests that Memo has fun with one of the other girls that are working, and Memo doesn't object, which makes Perla jealous. And the next day, you see Perla berating Memo that, oh yeah, I hope you enjoyed your time. I am just mentioning this to show how Perla's interest and Perla's love for Memo continued to gradually increase and also led to the degrading of her love for Danilo. All the jealousy she's showing is what she would do for Danilo in the past. With Alejandra, whenever Danilo showed her any attention, she would be pouty. She used to be very jealous of Alejandra and Danilo, and now she's jealous of anything that Memo does with other women in general. And Memo is just such a reassuring boyfriend. He just holds her and tells her that she's still the most gorgeous person he has ever seen. Perla has fallen out of love with Danilo. Perla no longer cares for his relationship with Alejandra, but Perla still cannot leave. So we have gone through her loving him, her having nowhere else to go, and now she cannot go anywhere because she no longer has the first two holding her. She can leave with Memo if she wants, but if it was any other situation, I strongly believe that she would just leave because at this point, Memo is her world. So much so that she risks asking Danilo to allow her stop work. Of course, she doesn't do it stupidly. She goes to Danilo and tells him, I don't think I should be physically interacting with the customers anymore, that she would just prefer to handle the girls and the business and that would be it. And Danilo agrees. Danilo says, yeah, you're old, your face doesn't, he insults her more or less. In this scene, I feel like she had to bite her tongue from saying how much Memo fell over her.
Sí, sí, estoy bien vieja, fíjate. Pero ¿qué crees? ¿Qué crees, papacito? Que todavía gusto.
Because she was trying to allow Danilo agree with her plan, even if it meant putting up with a bit of insult without showing examples as to why that insult doesn't land. But we move on. Danilo agrees, but as he does so, he realizes something that has changed. Perla is confused as to what he's talking about, and he tells her that I just gave you something that you wanted. In the past, you'd be all over me saying, sweet Danilo, baby, darling, thank you. But today, you're just, okay, what's happening? What's changed? And she has to cover up with, oh, I should be saying all those nice things after you just insulted me? Of course not. And Danilo takes this as face value and says, okay, fine, you got what you wanted. But here comes the abuse again. Even after giving Perla what she wants, he has to make her life miserable somehow. So he makes a mess and tells her to clean it up as he leaves because it's kind of punishment for her not thanking him as she did before or something. I don't know what was going on in his head. Danilo is crazy. In the past where this would upset Perla, she's too happy about getting what she wanted. So she calls Memo immediately and says, hey, I have good news. And they laugh about it. They plan to meet up and she leaves. It's very obvious that Perla is thriving under this new relationship. She doesn't have that jealousy that used to eat her up and make her sad. She has someone that she is enamored with and who is enamored with her. And I don't know if I'm overseeing things, but she just looked healthier. Even though she hadn't changed much of her life around her, she was still handling the business. It started to break down the walls of indifference that she had built up over years of living with Danilo, to the sense that even Alejandra, who had been trying to get her to feel guilty about what they were doing, could finally break through because of that relationship. What am I trying to say? Perla saw Danilo bring woman after woman into this business. I don't know how he brought her in, but there are a lot of girls that have come in that never wanted to be in the business, Alejandra being the biggest example. Yet Perla was okay with Danilo's methods, no matter how violent, how painful they were. She allowed him to do those things to those girls and remained indifferent. As her relationship with Memo began, and as I said, none of them are perfect in any means, but I feel like her relationship with Memo really softened her up enough to see that what she had been watching be done to these girls was not something that she could do anymore. Danilo goes out and gets another girl, and this time Perla is ready to help him get the girl settled. She's just the same innocent girl as Alejandra had been when she had first been introduced, but this time is different. This time Perla is not as easy with everything as she was in the past. She talks to people about it, how she sat down and watched Danilo do these monstrous things over and over again. She's beginning to open up and become less desensitized. This pushes her further to want to have something outside of Danilo, which is a store. I think the plan was to be a hairdresser of some sort, and she asked Danilo for permission to have the store, and he initially gave her permission, and she celebrated this permission with Memo, because this is the way she would make her own money, maybe enough to finally leave and move far away. The kind of money they needed was the kind of money that Danilo would never find them again if they were to leave, because she just can't up and say, Danilo, I'm gone, bye. He would find her, and there's a likely chance that he would finally kill her. But this brings us to Perla's fourth act. Perla has been broken down enough to not want to be in this life anymore. She wants to leave, and she wants to leave with Memo. And the biggest push that came from this was the point in time when Perla believed that Memo had died. I'm going to take a very, very brief bend from this entire conversation to talk about this glorious, glorious scene. Perla has begun to trust Alejandra. She even helped Alejandra get the new girl to escape. That's how much she's begun to trust Alejandra. But Alejandra wants to bring down Danilo. And despite no longer loving Danilo, Perla cannot allow that to happen, because she feels like Danilo will not go down without taking each and every one of them down with him. So Alejandra does things behind Perla's back. One of those things is to report one of Danilo's spots to the police. They raid, and the news gets back to Memo's cousin, who goes to tell Perla that the place Memo was working in, he was basically banished there by Danilo because Danilo was suspecting something. So he comes to tell Perla that they raided the place and he cannot find Memo. The news spreads that some people were killed and Memo might be a part of it. The breakdown. Oh my goodness, the breakdown Perla had. It was so bad, she couldn't even pretend in front of Danilo. That was his spot that got raided. That was money he lost. The last thing he wanted was to see her crying over Memo, because where is my comfort, woman? Did you not tell me that this relationship was nothing more than just flirtation? Why are you crying this hard? And she tries to maintain that, oh, it's nothing, it's just the news shocked me, but this woman cannot stop crying. Perla is a mess. I keep reminding you, their relationship was not perfect, but it was enough to change Perla to a softer person. So much so that she saw his death as punishment for everything she allowed Danilo to do, which meant to her that what she deserved was to be alone and miserable. And to get to the scene that really made me laugh, somebody says something, I don't know who, but it makes Perla realize that Alejandra had something to do with the raid. Talk about throwing a friendship into the wind for a man. She took Alejandra in a chokehold. She was like, girl, you took away the only thing I loved. She was ready to kill Alejandra. I stand by that till today. Anyway, her phone rings, and funny enough, it's Memo. Memo escaped. He wasn't one of the people that got killed, and Perla passes out. And that experience was so visceral for her that she was ready to leave that day. Danilo wasn't home. She packed a bag and she ran. Something changed and they went back, but that was how much his supposed death pushed her. And she decides to help Alejandra take down Danilo. In the end, I just want to skip to the end because I want to just show you one last glorious thing about their relationship as to how she moved from an abusive man to a good one. In the end, she finally agrees to help take down Danilo. But all in all, they say that they can give her freedom if she helps bring down Danilo. But then her freedom again hangs in the balance because the police also want Memo. Memo helped him with a lot of his shady deals. If she didn't, she was going to prison. And so they give her a phone and she calls and she tells him to run far away because the police is looking for him, and if they catch him, he would be in prison. He should forget all about her.
Contigo conocí lo bonito de la vida.
If that was Danilo, only the Lord knows that he would have abandoned her there. But I just love how much Memo loves Perla. Perla was at the police station ready to get arrested when Memo walked through the door. For Perla, that was a big sacrifice. It was the ultimate show of love that he did not run when she said so, but chose to sacrifice his freedom and do the right thing so that she could have the life that he believed she deserved to have. That is the entire video. If you've watched this show, what did you think about Perla and Memo and Danilo? Was their story interesting to you? Or were you inclined towards other stories like Acacia and her mom? Share your thoughts in the comments. Join the Patreon if you're interested in other content. Thank you for listening to this long rant. Was it a rant? I'm not even sure. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you on the next one.